News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Israeli hospital Tel Aviv area struck after Iranian missile attack. President Tinubu plans vacation for June 28 despite escalating insecurity. Vigilante soldiers clash with bandits in Plateau forest, and Senate gives NNPCL ultimatum to account for 201 trillion naira missing funds. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The world news at 12 begins on the foreign scene, where a hospital in southern Israel and two towns near Tel Aviv were struck after a barrage of Iranian missiles this morning, with rescuers reporting at least 47 people injured in the latest attacks. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that Iran would pay a heavy price after the strikes on Surka Hospital in Beersheba in southern Israel, while Defense Minister Israel Katz said the army had been ordered to intensify strikes on Iran. Buildings were also damaged in the central towns of Ramat Gan and Holon, close to coastal hub Tel Aviv, which has repeatedly been targeted by Iranian missiles since war broke out between the countries last Friday. Sirens sounded across Israel early this morning as the military said it detected incoming missiles from Iran. Back home in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu is planning to take a break from official duties and distress in the Caribbean nation of St. Lucia by month end, even as Nigerians grieve the hundreds of lives lost in the clash in Yellow and Dauda communities of Benue State last weekend. Barely 2 months after returning from Paris, President Tinubu scheduled a week-long personal vacation trip to distress in the Caribbean, according to a statement by St. Lucia Prime Minister Philippe J. Pierre. The president will reserve 2 days for official engagement, while the remaining days will be for his personal vacation. President Tinubu will arrive in St. Lucia on June 28 and is expected to depart on July 4th. You will recall that President Tinubu on Wednesday aborted his plans to visit Yellowwater, where scores of farmers and their families were brutally murdered, as he blamed the bad roads and rain for the change of plans and said he had already seen the carnage on camera. Yet in the same rain that the president sought to avoid, school children, all minors, lined up the street waiting to wave and sing songs of welcome to the president. Meanwhile, a fierce clash between vigilantes, soldiers and suspected bandits in Dutsen Zaki Forest, Wasa local government area of Plateau State, has left dozens dead, including members of both the armed group and the local security outfit. The fighting, which reportedly began on Saturday and continued into Wednesday, led to the deaths of scores of bandits and at least 4 vigilantes. 16 injured vigilantes are currently receiving treatment at the Federal Medical Center in Wase and another hospital in Bauchi State. Dutsen Zaki, a dense forest in Bashar district, is bordered by communities such as Zurak, Aduwa, Kinashe and Odare. The area has experienced repeated attacks by armed groups, forcing many residents to flee their homes. These latest violence comes 2 weeks after security operatives and vigilantes killed 5 suspected bandits in Kadil Masudu village, also in Wasa local government area. Abdullahi Husseini, a local vigilante leader, said over 300 vigilantes launched an offensive against the bandits in their hideouts. He claimed that more than 80 bandits, including some of their wives, were killed during the multi-day operation. He also claimed the forest is now under the control of vigilantes, adding that many of the gunmen have fled. In a recent development, the Nigerian Senate has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to account for 210 trillion naira in missing funds in its coffers, as contained in audited financial statements spanning 2017 to 2023. This was made known on Wednesday during a session of the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, where the NNPCL's Chief Financial Officer, Dakbo Shegun, and other executives of the state-owned oil firm were present. According to the chairman of the committee, Senator Aliyu Wadada, he described the inconsistencies in NNPCL's financial records as unacceptable and warned that the Senate would pursue the matter to the full extent of its oversight powers. He lamented how accrued expenses of 103 trillion naira, which included 600 billion naira in retention fees, unspecified legal fees, and auditor charges, all without any accompanying documentation or reference contracts. Now let's take a listen to Aliyu Wadada speaking on these developments, where he talked about how 210 trillion naira was missing from the NNPCL's coffers.
the public domain already. So any document that contradicts what is contained in their audited financial statement is in abeyance here. We have no question. I mean, as far as we are concerned, it's just a paper. We are not even looking at that because the issues are all on, about, and around their audited financial statement. Otherwise, the external auditors wouldn't have been here. Yeah, so we have their audited financial statement, which is already in the public domain. Of the accrued expenses are 103 trillion. While the figure of the receivables are or is 107 trillion. So in total, figure-wise, you are talking 210 trillion.
Meanwhile, in a coordinated move to address the worsening food crisis in Nigeria, the 36 state governors under the umbrella of the Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF, have agreed to collaborate with the federal government to dismantle illegal checkpoints, harmonize levies, and improve interstate trade. The decision was announced after the closed-door meeting with the National Security Advisor, NSA Nuhu Ribadu, and the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, held on Wednesday night. Reading the communique after the meeting, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said the governors unanimously acknowledged that the current proliferation of illegal checkpoints and multiple taxation were aggravating food price inflation and disrupting national food supply chain. Governor Sanwo-Olu disclosed that states have collectively invested more than $2.2 billion through the NG Cares implementation platforms. Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaran has been arraigned before Justice Chizoba Orji of the Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court for alleged defamation. The lawmaker was arraigned today by the federal government on 3 counts bordering on alleged defamation of Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former governor of Kogi State Yaya Bello. Security operatives were visible around the court with the proceeding, attended by the lawmaker's husband, former Minister of Education Obi Ezekwesili, activist Aisha Yusufu, and numerous supporters. The government accused the senator of making imputation, knowing or having reason to believe that such imputation will harm the reputation of a person, citing Section 391 of the Penal Code, Cap 89 Laws of the Federation, 1990. The offence is punishable under Section 392 of the same law. The list of witnesses showed that Senate President Akpabio and Yaya Bello would testify during the trial. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I'm now being joined by Ambassador Victor Atewe, all the way from Abuja. He's a political, social, and national affairs analyst. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today, Ambassador.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to hear from you. It's been quite a while, but let's go right into the issues. First up on what we need to discuss for today, President Tinubu is planning a vacation for June 28th. This is despite escalating insecurity, food insecurity in the country, and just a general malady that has befallen the Nigerian people in terms of the way people feel at the moment. While the president was speaking in Benue State yesterday, which was another point for which Nigerians really vilified him, saying, why would you go to a place that's supposed to be in mourning and you have kids lined up under the rain waiting to wave at you? It's not like they will catch a glimpse of the president. Then also the hall was decorated. You could see cutlery on the table. It was almost as if they were in a celebration mood rather than in a mourning mood. But I digress. The president said he knows that people don't like him. So this vacation at this moment, when the nation is supposed to be in mourning because of what happened in Benue State, would you say is tone deaf? Is the president so tired that 2 months after returning from Paris, he wants to go to St. Lucia to distress?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to all the families and, of course, for those that are affected by the unjustified killing in Benue State. For the families that only God can help them to fill the void that they feel right now in their heart. My heart goes out to them, and I believe every other Nigerians, of course, are praying for them and hoping that they would recover soon and get better, and of course everything will come back to normal within that area. Well, given to what you said, this goes to show the disconnection between our so-called leaders, or forgive me, use the word, forgive me, our rulers, than the people. I mean, this is a country where inflation is on the rise, hunger is tearing families apart. People can no longer feed family. A father in the house can no longer take care of their children or their families. I mean, there's a food crisis. There's insecurity everywhere, and what our president could think about is to go for vacation. This goes to show how insensitive he is to the plight of the people. And I won't be surprised, because already, like what you said, he already knows that he doesn't have much fans out there, and so he doesn't even give a hook. How whatever they say about him is just about him and those that of course are on the good book of the presidency, or the president, as it were, that is concerned about. So the Nigerian populace, or the Nigerian people, are less is concerned. I mean, one would hope and think that a leader of such vast experience, that have helped to deepen the democratic system we so practice in Nigeria and fought for that, would be so sensitive, and of course would help. I mean, there'll be a departure from the past. But what we see now is just a military in a democratic form. I mean, a military man wearing an agbada, so to say, because what we're seeing is the level of his sensitivity.
Wait, you are saying that the president is administering this nation like a military man?
Yes, of course, yes, it's not far-fetched. I mean, I think to what we're seeing today, I think Buhari is a saint, because we know that during the
compared to the present president, Buhari is a saint, really?
Yes, because what we see now is you talk, they come, DSS will lynch you, or they come harass you, or they come pick you, and before you know, you're nowhere to be found. I mean, we've seen cases of journalists being harassed, and we hear the Femi Falana's SAN, who is coming out to say that journalists should stop the harassment of journalists and all that. So all that, we see it happening in a democratic system, and when you talk on air, you become the next victim. Of course, if they can't come for you, they will use all the political means and economic means to muzzle you up. So that is what we are faced with, and it's so sad that where we are as a nation. I mean, you went to Benue State, even have Avon State, for some days before reacting and going there to feel their plight and their pain, and all you can go there. I mean, a place that's supposed to be in a sober reflection, let the people feel that yes, you feel their pain and you know what they're going through, and all you do is to turn it to a campaign rally, and say that no, that they don't like you, but nobody should care. Go and do your job. I mean, is that what you expect from a leader? And to even add more stuff to the injury, you didn't even go to where the incident, where the tragic incident happened. To even see it firsthand and see, and maybe talk to the locals there and see how they feel. Let them get to see that this president cared about them. You just go to the capital and of course go to the hospital. Only God knows if those are really the victims, and meet them, and you maxed up and you go there and all that, and you come back and you go to a political, the hall where you address your political loyalists, and that's a visit. Is that what we expect from a leader? I mean, it's who we are as Africans and Nigeria, and this goes to tell Nigerians that your leader doesn't care about you. So it is a high time that you need to stand up, and of course stand up for your rights. Do it civilly though, but we have to start caring for ourselves, because our leaders no longer don't care for us. So that's why, in the midst of the turmoil and economic downturn in the country, the president would say, I want to go for vacation. I mean, all the medical tourism and all that he has been going for, what is that? I mean, it's so surprising that we have a lot of work to be done, and number one citizen is feeling that I need to go for vacation. Wow.
You know, while we're talking about all of this, Ambassador Victor Atewe, when we talk about politics and governance, quite a number of people will say to you, let's also hold our governors accountable. It's not just the president. When it comes to certain issues, including insecurity, food security, and certain other issues, we should be able to also hold the governors accountable and not just always vilifying the president or saying, oh, the president has failed or is failing in his duty to protect the people. Now, last night, certain governors met with the NSA and the Minister of Defense. They held a crucial meeting to actually talk about the issues bedeviling them in different states. We had governors from Anambra, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Kwara, Osun, Plateau, Lagos, Nasarawa, Ekiti, Ebonyi, Kogi, Ondo, Imo, Cross River, Ogun State, and Edo State were present at the meeting. Now, the governor of Enugu State was not present at that meeting, but he has come out to tell Nigerians that Enugu remains one of the safest. In fact, Enugu is the safest state in Nigeria. That's what Governor Peter Mba is saying to his people right now. Just 2 days ago, we had reports of a massacre happening in Ehamufu, the same community that was attacked about 3 months ago in this same year. That community was attacked. So when the governor of a state under attack is coming out to say that this is one of the safest states, if you do not identify the problem, how do you go about solving it?
Well, this goes to show how our governors, of course, we all know that our governors are handicapped. Our governors don't control the police, they don't control the military. So for him to say Enugu is the safest state so far, well, let's believe that. Let's dance to his tune or to his state rhythm to say Enugu is safe. I mean, like what you just said, the attack that just happened there. But maybe he has his own security architect in place, and that will cover any external security threat or any inner security challenges that might erupt and cause mayhem. So let's just hope that he knows what he's doing. But if we are saying that we shouldn't go after the president or the presidency, I mean, the president controls the security architecture of the country. You know the back and forth that some governors had with the then President Buhari when they established some state security outfit, the Moteko and all that. And you knew the backlash they had with the presidency upon getting approval to use firearms and all that. So you see, some governors will say that they are trying, but of course they are meeting. I mean, they are not. I mean, getting a nod from the top. So that is why you see that I think it's long overdue. I mean, a lot of outcry. I mean, coming from Nigerians, 1 million Nigerians who have been saying that Nigeria is due for state security because our security, our police have been overstretched, and that's the truth. I mean, we are over 200 million people. I mean, governed by less than 600,000 police. I mean, you can only but imagine that such countries only living by the grace of God, and of course, our military right now that ought to protect the external borders and external, see to the external security are used as a police right now to see how they can curb the insecurity in the northeast and of course the west, northwest, and all that. So, for governors are handicapped. That's the truth because they don't control the security in their state. Even though they are just at the chief security officer of their states, they have limited or nothing to do in such in such incidents when it occurs. So. That's why Nigerians are calling on the president to be more proactive. And enough of all these enough of all these press statements after an incident. Lives have been taken. Come on, over 200. We're not in the war zone, and over 200 people lost their life just one night. So we live in a country where you can close your eyes and you are not even sure of what will happen the next morning or the next minute. Nigerians are living watching their back because the primary assignment or their primary duty of government is to protect life and properties, which they failed woefully. And not just this government, successive governments have been seen to be failing Nigerians in that aspect. So the least Nigerians are asking for is just protect our lives and let us live in peace and go about our businesses, even though you can't fend for us or you can't take care of us economically, but we'll take care of ourselves. But that little assignment, they failed. So that's why you see that Nigerians are really calling on the president, and of course he's having this much backlash to say that he has failed in that duty. I mean, but we are used to them coming and using every tragic incident to their own advantage as a means to campaign or a means to show or the means to say, oh, we're with you. Whereas it just ends with the camera, and once the camera is back to their station, business as usual. And we can only but pray that God should not allow such to repeat itself anywhere in Nigeria, because it's really
Ambassador Tawa, the truth is we cannot continue to depend on God for our security. That is not to say that it's not important to pray and then say, oh, God, help us. But the people in Yelwata who were recently attacked, who were massacred and burnt to ashes in their homes, many of them wake up in the morning and then call on God. It is important that we hold our leaders accountable. Now, from the president to the governors, down to the responsibility of the people to protect themselves. We've had it. In 2021, Governor Matawale then of Zamfara said, oh, when bandits attack you, don't wait for security personnel to come to your rescue. Rise and protect yourself. We've heard former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma, retired, urging Nigerians to defend themselves against bandits and criminals. A lot of Nigerians believe that is what is best to do. Protect yourself when these people come take up arms. But the question I've always asked that no one has been able to answer is, what kind of arms can these people take up that will be as sophisticated as what the attackers are holding? Now, while we're talking about this, we got reports that vigilantes and some vigilantes, soldiers and villagers took up arms and took the fight to the bandits in the forest in Plateau State. And that's over 300 vigilantes launched this offensive against the bandits. They said they've killed over 80 bandits, including some of their wives. Their children were killed in a multi-day operation from Saturday up to Wednesday. These people were fighting against these bandits. If the government cannot protect the people, is this the answer to the violence?
Well, of course, what would you expect them to do? We can, why most people are really not really toning that line to say the citizens should go out, because it's just going to come to a wild, wild west, where where every citizen takes up arm, and with the level of frustration and provocation Nigerians are going through right now, anybody can just pick up a gun, and before you know, it's just going to be anybody, it's just going to be it's going to be a jungle system, it's going to be a jungle place, so to say. So one thing I know for sure is, yes, it's our time that Nigerians need to stand up. Don't wait for you to be killed. You have to fight and you have to defend yourself. Yes, like you said, against the arms, you can't. It's like you going to a gunfight with a knife. You're as good as dead, upon arrival. But what the vigilante had done is commendable, if you ask me. And I think that government at local level need to empower their vigilante group. Train them to be more professional in their conduct, and train them on how to engage, and perhaps maybe use that as a local security outfit to protect the people, because we've seen situations that when an incident or a bandit attack is happening somewhere, before the police or the military or wherever could get there, they will have done what they need. What they came there to do, and of course leave. So I think it's our time that each governors need to start looking inward and try to empower, mobilize, and of course their personnel, local personnel, vigilante group, to see how they can be supportive to our security architecture. See how they can
Ambassador Terry, but there's been complaints of the people being, like a process of disarmament being carried out when people take up arms in these villages that have experienced attacks to defend themselves. They say, the military comes in, they mop up all of these arms and then tell us, don't worry, we'll protect you, but that doesn't happen.
Well, that is messy. I wouldn't want to comment on what I don't have the facts to, but yes, we've had cases or stories like that coming out to say military going to some villagers or community men who have arms and all that. But I think even in Abuja we see some local security outfits with a local gun around, trying to protect and all that. So I don't see that really happening. But of course, there are a lot of interest group, a lot of stories that are coming out to, buttress that point. But I want to say, let's comment on what is factual or what it seems to be proven, even though we know that most stories that are real story like that tends to be flushed out or tends to be suppressed because of the power that be. So. And the reason why the military, if asked, will tell you that because sometimes when you expose the citizen to some some arm carrying and all that, they tend to use it to oppress even the local.
So the citizens don't turn on themselves.
Yeah, turn on themselves, and you use it to oppress the locals and those that are, armless, or those who don't have the mind to carry arms. And we see that play out in some cases. Yes, you see that because of some quarters who tends to be protecting the community will not be the one escorting the community. We've seen that happen even in Niger Delta. We've seen that happen in some part of the West. And, because of that, it's also the duty of government to also see to, see to make sure that there's law and order. So some will not, because if it falls into the wrong hands, trust me, it could now
the
turn out to be
could deteriorate.
Yeah, it could turn out to be worse.
All right, Ambassador Atewe, I want to quickly talk about the NNPCL before we go, because our time is fast spent. The Senate has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the NNPCL to account for 210 trillion naira. Ambassador Atewe, 210 trillion naira in missing funds in the NNPCL coffers. When we talk about missing funds, right? Where does it go? How does it, go missing? Then we go to the Senate, we're speaking English. Even right here on air, when we're talking about this situation, we'll get messages and be like, oh, you're just speaking English, you're just speaking grammar. Why these people are carting away Nigeria's wealth? Accrued expenses, 103 trillion, 600 billion naira in retention fees, unspecified legal fees, auditor charges. How did all of these come up to 210 trillion naira? The NNPCL is functioning, but not one refinery in Nigeria, apart from privately owned Dangote and others that are coming up, is actually functioning. And the price of fuel keeps going higher. Yesterday, we got reports that fuel scarcity might be imminent because there are certain tanker drivers protesting on the Lekki-Ekpe corridor due to a new e-collop fee of 12,500 naira that they have been mandated to pay. Remember when Mele Kyari was the group CEO, he came out and then said, very soon, I will talk. Very soon, I will reveal the truth when the time comes. He said this about 10 months ago. That was in August of 2024. Has the time not yet come for Mele Kyari to come out and speak the truth and tell us what really happens in the NNPCL? That 210 whole trillion naira. Do we know how many schools that money can build for Nigerians?
My dear, I think I want to ask you a question. This is a country where a government appointee said snakes swallowed billion money. This is a country where you have monkey cut away with money. So when you hear stories like this, as much as a lot of Nigerians tend not to, they find it very important, because you know what billion is? 210 trillion naira, and to account for it, money being misappropriated. I mean, this is not, it's just that it's coming out to the light right now. NNPC have been known to be the home of corruption. I mean, there are a lot of things that if brought out to light would turn this country upside down. That plays out at NNPC. So NNPCL now. So it's not surprising to people like us, because we are privy to it. I mean, these are government agencies or parastatals that came out and to be paying staffs for a refinery that is not working. And they came on air to just give Nigeria the mirage and say they started working, and all just to know that it's a couple of months it was shut down. So I think it's laughable. Of course, the story is not being told, and I hope that the House of Rep will stand up to its mandate and, of course, do what they've been voted for to do, to go further to probe. I mean, this is not the first probe that we've heard from NNPCL. This is not going to be the last, trust me, because the corporation as a whole is embedded in corruption. I mean, I make bold to say it's embedded in corruption. There are a lot of corrupt practices happening there. And I hope this will not be as other stories that will just come to the air. I mean, will come to the media space, and of course, we just go the way it came. Yeah, because it is sad that a country where people can barely feed or could barely take care of themselves or could barely even, they're not even sure of 2 square meal. We have this kind of, rascality, financial rascality happening, and no arrest is being made, nothing is happening. These are people who perhaps maybe they even move with convoy, with police, police that have been paid with taxpayers' money. It's sad. It's really sad. But I, for one, wouldn't expect anything different. But if it comes out to be different, it's going to be commendable. I will commend the National Assembly. But these are based on the same feathers. If money starts exchanging ends now, it's going to be a different story. And before you know, the probe will go to committees. And after it goes to committees, nothing happens. Or maybe if a report comes out, it just ends at the level of report. And no prosecution will be made and no recovery will be made. So, this is a wake-up call for Nigerians that you just need to own your country. This country, we've been food for too long. And if we continue to say it's not a business, before you know, it becomes your business. As it is now, it's everybody's business. And everybody needs to come out and own this country. We have no other home. We have no other place except this country. And we have to just, tell our leaders and those that we so-called elect there or be selected to say, you need to be accountable. Enough of all this sycophancy, enough of all this, enough of all these praises of people who are doing nothing, but only just sitting down and eating our money, and and nothing is being done. If things like this were to happen in China, you know what happens. It's this death by hanging. We need to start enacting such laws that would empower such. Because these are Commonwealth 210 trillion, and you find out that of course they will come up with a report, tell you that the money was used for this, used for that, used for that. But what can you see? No, this is Nigeria. That's what I'll end it with.
It's quite unfortunate because when you end it with "this is Nigeria," it sounds like, oh, this is Nigeria, synonymous with corruption, fraud, misappropriation of funds, and every other negative attribute that you can find. But we belong to this country, and we cannot continue to push the narrative that this is Nigeria. Anything can happen.
We have been crying. I can't. I think I've lost count of how I personally have come on air to to talk to the ears, the whole thing. You just find out that it ends there. It ends there. The corruption, eating deep into every areas, every sector, every fiber of our body as a people. So we can. Forgive me sometimes when I talk like this, not because I lose hope, but I can just only pray with the little hope I have for the country that at one day we'll wake up and get it right. We'll wake up where we'll have a leader that is accountable. We'll have people who have eaten our money, be brought to book and face justice. We have a country where fairness and justice will prevail. Let's see. You understand? We will be upheld. So, but it's just what it is. And we are just that's how I say it is Nigeria. You can only but talk and hope for the best.
Thank you, Ambassador Victor Atewe, for joining me on the World News at 12 this afternoon. It's quite a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Before we go, it is the job of those of us who work in the media to actually bring these issues to you so that we can talk about them, not in order to give you anxiety, but to bring to the fore the issues happening around you. And we'll bring knowledgeable analysts to actually dissect this issue so that you can understand how it affects you away from what is actually very obvious or evident. I would say to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this is not the time to go for vacations. I understand that the job of administering, of being a leader of over 200 million Nigerians is not an easy one. But you campaigned, you ran for elections, and the people who believed in you voted for you. And INEC declared you as the winner of the 2023 elections. No one goes on vacation when their house is burning. You don't go chasing a rat when your house is burning. I understand that you need to rest, but 2 months after coming back from Paris, should this really be the priority? Mr. President, Nigerians are looking up to you to do the best for them, even while the 2027 elections are in focus. Before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. Israel Hospital, Tel Aviv area struck after Iranian missile attack. President Tinubu plans vacation for June 28. Despite escalated insecurity, vigilantes and soldiers clash with bandits in Plateau forest. Senate gives an NNPCL ultimatum to account for 201 trillion naira missing funds. That is a wrap on the world news at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM for coverage of your live event and brand news mentions in our news bulletins. Do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.